name's Bryony Purdue and I've been invited by Braeburn to talk you through the wonderful world of whisky. Now, I grew up in Scotland and I can tell you that no matter how English your parents are, you never quite shake that Celtic fiery spirit. Speaking of which, we have a fabulous selection of whiskies and a wonderful lineup of guests to talk you through what they love so much about this mysterious amber nectar. So join me with a dram each week. What more could you want? It's great to be here this evening on this sunny balcony in London. I'm joined by Tyler Spalding and Lasse Clausen. Tyler is CEO of Flexa and Lasse is joining us to talk about what cryptocurrency means in the current climate, to compare what whiskey cask investment means right now as well. And we're going to chat about the two things. Great. I'm going to put these on because it really is horrendous. Now I'm not having to play with little buttons on the screen. So we're very lucky to have them here this evening. Thank you for joining. So how would you explain blockchain to a 5-year-old?
You know, really what cryptocurrencies is a little deceiving in the sense because the word currency is in there that people always think about money.
Yeah.
But it's actually not only money. And what it is, it's really a technology and a system that allows to create trust and actually reduce the cost of trust. So if you think about why does money actually work? Why is money money? It is because people trust it, right? That it has value. And so now blockchain is something that enables to create trust in many different things. And one of them also happens to be money. So it can actually create new forms of money and digital versions of money, or a digital gold like Bitcoin maybe is. But it also enables to reduce the cost of trust in many other areas. And so I think this is the most important maybe takeaway about cryptocurrency is that it's actually not just all trying to be money. And maybe a funny story that even in 2019, JP Morgan did a 64-page report about cryptocurrency to their private wealth clients, and even they were so confused that they thought all these, thousands of different cryptocurrencies are trying to be money. And the conclusion was like, I think they're all going to have a hard time becoming the new US dollar. Well, it turns out they're actually not. Most of them are just sort of, software networks that happen to have their own currency, but they're not really trying to replace the US dollar. Bitcoin really is the only thing in the world where you have mathematical proof that will never be more of it. So it's like an alternative asset / sort of store of value that could be probably best thought of as a digital version, a better version of gold. Or you could actually say that gold is like a really bad version of Bitcoin because it's very hard to transport. It's very hard to verify how much is actually out there and who owns what. So there was one famous transaction of around $3 billion that was sent in Bitcoin in around 5 minutes. For some people that are big Bitcoin fans, what they like about is that it's, an inflation-prone sort of price feed of something. Everything else can be created more of. Turns out, even gold can be mined more. And, Bitcoin really is the only thing in the world where you have mathematical proof that will never be more of it. So it's like an alternative asset / sort of store of value that could be probably best thought of as a digital version, a better version of gold.
So much like whiskies, you obviously, if you start off with a whiskey that's very young, and then distiller only makes a certain finite amount of that whiskey, once it's gone, it is gone.
I'll give that one to Tyler because Tyler is, so I'm a Bitcoin holder. I understand Bitcoin, but full transparency, I don't understand whiskeys. All I do is when I spend time with Tyler, he takes me to the best whiskey bars across the world. And I tell him something like, I would like smooth and high end. And then Tyler studies, these large whiskey menus and says, I think this one you'll like it. That's all I know about whiskey. I definitely see the parallels, but I think Tyler is really going to be in the best position to elaborate on the parallels between, whiskey as a scarce asset and Bitcoin as a scarce asset.
Lasse is talking about Bitcoin being digital gold, right? And everyone talks about, whiskey and our spirits being liquid gold. Now, I've been a cryptocurrency investor for almost 10 years, and then whiskey for about 15 years or so. So having kind of experience in both is that they also have a lot of utility. It's something that gets overlooked a lot in that Bitcoin, you can, even though having its gold-like properties, you can use it for things and use it as money if you'd like to. You can use it as value transfer. And you can do the same with whiskey, but you can also drink it and enjoy it. And that's one of the number one things to me is, so not only just like if you had an entire cask or a bottle, this to me is one of the there's many reasons why I would prefer whiskey to wine. I even define myself as a whiskey maximalist, so I don't really drink any other spirits or alcohol of any other kind except exclusively whiskey. But one of the things that makes it, so compelling, there's many reasons, but one is that when you open a bottle of whiskey, if you just store it properly out of sunlight, right, keep the stopper on, like it could last for 20 years without much impact to the flavor, maybe even a good impact to the flavor. And you can enjoy it with friends and you can relive memories. And those are things that as like people, that's a very human emotion that's extremely powerful to be with friends and say, remember when we were in Scotland, we were in Islay 10 years ago and I got this limited release from this distillery. Oh, we want to try that. And you can have that, and you can have it and share it among 20, 30 people, even with one bottle, let alone a cask. And so the utility and just the emotional draw of these assets, using them, so Bitcoin is money or assets, just like kind of store value, transfer value, and whiskey you can actually enjoy with people and drink is a great asset to invest in my opinion.
That's one of the great things I think about whiskey as well, is you're talking about the sort of universal language of cryptocurrency, is that it's not affected in the same way, from what I'm understanding, it's not affected in the same way by exchange rates, it's not affected in that same way. So like whiskey, it's as valuable wherever you are in the world. Obviously whiskey isn't as quick a process, it takes a lot of time to mature and it takes a lot of time to really reach its best, arguably. So do you find it quite soothing that it takes longer and it takes real work and it takes hands-on people to actually make that product, as opposed to the speed of the world that you guys work in?
Oh, absolutely. And that's for like the human emotion, right? It adds, also a lot of people don't appreciate the rarity itself, right? So you mentioned earlier the angel share, right? You can't exactly just put in your distillate into a cask and have it just sit there for 50 years and you get all of it to come back. So you only get the small fraction of what remains over that like duration. So there's even rarity of all the time and materials and the opportunity cost that goes into that.
I think that the process and ritual is a really big part of drinking whiskey, as well as obviously producing whiskey. So you've got in whiskey, with whiskey drinkers, you've got people who absolutely swear if you have it anything other than neat, you're an absolute. You must not have it with any water, any ice, nothing. You must have it neat. And that also divides people. Do you have the same sort of thing in cryptocurrency? Do people get quite territorial about their particular currency?
Oh, yes. It's definitely a very large tribalism, you could say. So you could call these decentralization purists. So in the way that, there are some people that you have to drink this neat, everything else is kind of, it's a sin. You definitely have these proponents of crypto networks where maybe there's a company behind it, there's a small group of founders or investors that own a large percentage of the network. That would be considered less pure.
I thought of some quick examples that maybe are more illustrative. So class around wine and wine enthusiasts, I view that as like Bitcoin. They're analogous in that the people behind them think they're better than you. There's one way, there's the right way, and they want to tell everyone about that being the way to do things. Vodka is like VC coins in crypto. They're ones where like they get a lot of funding behind prominent VCs, and it's generally just the exact same thing as everyone else, but they add some new technology or they slap a label on it, and then they want to charge you like 5 or 10x what the actual just cost of that would actually be at market. Whiskey is like Ethereum. We just want to have a good time. We want to grow a good community. People can approach it the way that they want and build value. And then the last one I thought was beer. Beer is like the public ICO market in 2017, where people just really don't care what it is whatsoever. They just want to get drunk.
What I was going to say actually is that it was mentioned, Tyler, that you have over 1,000 whiskies. Is that correct?
Sort of, unfortunately and fortunately, yes. I enjoy them, but also it's just started to become the problem.
Which one of those 1,000, if you could only take one whilst in lockdown, which one would you take?
I would have to take 2. I'm sorry to bend the rules. It's mainly because I am a believer, even though I feel like Speyside whiskeys are just probably the best that exists out there. But I'm also a believer that you cannot have too much peat in a whiskey dram. So I need to go with both sides. So the first one would likely be the Balvenie 1509, Ton 1509 series. Any within the range there are just absolutely spectacular. And dollar for dollar, what you get out of that is amazing. They're a little pricey, but not too crazy. That would easily be one. And then the other would just be an easy off-the-shelf classic, a Lagavulin 16. That would be kind of my peat fulfillment.
Or would you take Tyler's lead on that there, Lasse?
Yeah, whatever Tyler's recommending.
Whatever Tyler said.
He's never let me down.
He'll like the first one. He'll like the first one.
Okay, great. So that's another good reason that, if you guys were in lockdown together, then that would also cater for Lasse's needs as well.
I have plenty to share.
Yeah, 1,000. That's incredible. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk about whiskey, to talk about cryptocurrency. I genuinely feel like I understand it for the first time ever, and people have tried and failed, so thank you. This has been Tyler Spalding and Lasse Clausen talking about cryptocurrency and whiskey and the relationship between cryptocurrency investment and whiskey cask investment as an alternative way to use your money. And we hope to maybe get you guys on again another time, but thank you so much for your time now.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Yes, cheers.
And now over to our news correspondent. Oh, sorry, it's me. Next up, we have our news segment. These glasses are unprescribed, and this paper has nothing on it. But we have a number of important news announcements we'd like to make. International sales of alcohol soared by 55% in the third week of March, meaning that all over the globe, thousands of highly exclusive bars are popping up, much like this one here. People are enjoying alcohol from the safety and security of their own homes at a responsible social distance. Over the last 12 months, within the world of whiskey, we have seen some unprecedented prices reached at auction for certain bottles of whiskey. The Macallan 26 has sold a record 4 bottles for nearly $1 million each. Could this water of life revive the global economy? Within the world of whiskey, it's always important to look ahead to forecasts. It's ever-changing, and the fact that new whiskies such as Dalmore could be a very useful investment are well worth considering. Don't always go for the Macallan.
Doppelgender. Dulan whisky. Compagenda.
苏格兰高地原装进口，单一麦芽陈酿，持续荣获国际单一麦芽 Whisky 评鉴殊荣。最单一的口味，不简单的酒。
Dulan whisky. For me, and for you.
It is my great pleasure to welcome on to Braeburn TV that we have Malcolm Stratton, who is a musician with the band the Hutus Horns. You might be able to realise from that title that they are in fact a Scottish band, and Malcolm is here to talk us through some of their music, some of his own music, and his love of whiskey. Malcolm, thank you so much for coming on to this show.
Oh, pleasure. The Horns started off just on their own, working with different bands, so we were all from Scotland, so came up with the Hutus Horns. It kind of just seemed to fit, you know. Well, there's 8 in the band with a singer, but we sometimes go out as an instrumental band as well, but we prefer it with a singer.
When you're writing music, and I know that you also write your own, and it's not just with the Hutus Horns, is there a particular process that you go through? Obviously, whiskey making has a very particular process, and each distillery has a different way of doing their thing.
Our first album with the Hutus Horns came out, I think it was 2007. And back then we had a basic studio, but it wasn't good enough to record them properly. We kind of built that up over the years. So when we used to rehearse in a pub collectively, the whole band. So we wrote our first album upstairs in a pub. 3 of us are the main writers now, me and the sax player and the guitarist. So we've got our own studio in Leeds.
Do you have any particular musical influences that aren't around now that you think influence what you do?
I think our tastes have changed, you know, you can't keep listening to the same stuff. But a lot of us were into like early Kool and the Gang, bands like that. Anything with horns in it, basically. But, you know, we were all into jazz as well, blues, funk, hip hop. just a lot of different stuff.
I think people find both music and whiskey quite mystical, how it all happens and how it all comes together. It's often literally just people meeting, getting together, chatting and going, that sounds like a great idea. And then you see the finished product, but the actual process is really, it's really familiar, it's really relaxed, it's nice, it's not some...
Yeah, it's just easy going, making friends, basically.
It's been a real pleasure speaking to you, and...
Yeah, likewise.
Getting to feature some of the music on this episode, I believe, is wonderful. So thank you very much.
It's amazing. Well, thanks for having me. It's much appreciated.
And now Liquid Gold TV has the great pleasure of introducing the Hutus Horns. Well, the horns that we could get. Places in Scotland, lots of distilleries have very interesting spellings and different names. So we are going to have a nice selection of people trying to pronounce those names. We've come up with a cunning name, Scotch Bonnet. So put your thinking caps on and over to you.
Glengarriach.
Glengarriach.
Glengarry.
Glenglassaugh. Glenglacieux. Yeah, it says in French.
Glenglassaugh.
Lepre.
Lafroig.
Tamdu.
Tamdu.
Teenanish.
Teenanic.
Today we're very lucky to be joined by Niall Brown, Director at Braeburn Whisky Investment, and he's going to talk to us a bit about what that means in the current climate and talk to us a bit about his favourite whisky or two. Thank you for coming on the show, Niall.
Thank you for having me, Bryony. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, first off, I'm just going to go straight out the gate with, can you tell us a little bit about what you do with Braeburn Whisky?
Yeah, so I am a senior portfolio director at the company. And what that entails for me on a daily basis is I manage clients' portfolios. So that's from taking them from the start of the investment process right through to the end of the investment process. And in between, we also manage their portfolio by adding exclusive casks of single malt whisky to that current whisky cask portfolio they have. So whisky investment is buying a cask of single malt Scotch. Now at Braeburn, we only sell and give clients a chance to buy the best that Scotland has to offer, so to speak. So what we do is we take a client on a full ownership journey of owning a cask of their favourite whisky or a whisky we recommend for them to add to their portfolio. So what we do as a company is take them through that full maturation process, right through to the end of the exit, and they receive the money they've made from investing into whisky.
So you describe it as more of a long-term relationship?
Yes, whisky is definitely a medium to long-term investment. And our advice is, although you are the boss of your cask, you can exit when you like. But what we always recommend at Braeburn is to stay invested for at least 5 years. This is just so you can develop and benefit from those robust returns that whisky offers. Because we all know that the older whisky gets, the more valuable it becomes. So if you have patience and you're willing to wait the long game, whisky can be very, very beneficial for you and your portfolio.
For people that are used to investing in the stock market and things that are constantly changing, why whisky? Why is that a good thing to invest in?
Why not? I mean,
I am clearly on board.
I think there's two answers to that. First of all, whiskey's romantic. Whiskey's an amazing product where you're buying a piece of Scotch history. It's exciting, it's fun, you can touch your cask, you can feel your cask, you can drink from your cask. But secondly of all, there's some serious financial rewards and benefits in holding a whisky cask in a well-diversified portfolio. Now, what I tell my clients on a daily basis is, have your stocks, have your shares and have your property, but also have whisky, because whisky will constantly outperform the stock markets. It always has done, it always will do. I mean, right now in this current climate, there's been no better time to look towards an alternative asset which naturally gets more valuable as the years goes on. So you've got an asset that's not kind of correlated or not looking to be affected by what's going on in the world.
What distilleries do you see having the most growth over the next 3 to 5 years?
So we all know that whiskies, it takes a long time to become a top player in the whisky game. Your Macallans, your Glenfiddichs, your Glenlivets, Bowmores, Lagavulins, they've been around for a very long time and they demand a lot of respect, a lot of value and a lot of price point on the market. But I might be biased here, I might be very, very biased because I'm from this place, but Arran Whisky, look out for Arran Whisky in the next 20 years. I know you've asked me 3 to 5 years, but as a more longer term investment, Arran's been around now for over 20 years. It's releasing some amazing age statements in the market. They've also opened up a new distillery on the island to cater for their more peated releases. So what we're seeing with Arran now is being a very young distillery, still only 25 or 26 years old. It's starting to demand price point on the market. But in this kind of short term, the distillery I see knocking Macallan off its perch, and that's just me being a kind of whisky geek and what I've seen Dalmore doing recently. I think Dalmore is the next big player in the single cask market and also in the bottle market. Richard Patterson is doing some amazing things with the distillery. The White and Mackay Group are just a phenomenal brand, and I see a lot of growth in the short term for Dalmore.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, I should consider investing in Dalmore.
Yes.
And more specifically, can you fill us in on any future plans for Braeburn? Because obviously this has probably changed the plans to a certain extent, hopefully for the better, but let us know what it is that Braeburn is planning over the next few years.
Yeah, so we are just planning to grow and expand. We have seen a massive increase in clients all over the world. So in order to cater for these clients, we're going to have to expand our office space. So we're actually opening up in hopefully in the UK. We're going to look to expand our American client base, and we've actually very proud to say that we've just acquired the land and the plot and the idea to have our own bonded warehouse where our clients can actually have their casks of whisky. So this is very exciting for our company because we're going to have a gorgeous bonded facility where casks will be held in the heart of Speyside. So literally whisky heartland of Macallan, Glenfiddich, Craigellachie in the distance, and Braeburn's going to have their own bonded warehouse where our clients can have full access to their casks. So expansion and looking just for different ways for us to become a more valuable company to our clients.
Well, wish you the very best of luck at Braeburn with all of that. I think that the most important question for me to ask you directly on a personal level is, in lockdown, I've been asking everyone that's come on the show, what is the one whiskey? You could have one, and people haven't been cheeky and going for more than one, but I'm really asking for just the one. Which is the one whiskey that you would like to be locked down with?
Macallan 1926, I would like to be locked down with. Unfortunately, I don't have £1.5 million. So I am currently drinking a Glenfiddich 18, matured in an Oloroso barrel for 18 years. Gorgeous. I love Glenfiddich. I love what the distillery does. I buy a lot of Glenfiddich. I was there last year with clients. We had an amazing experience at the distillery. So it holds a very special place in my heart. So my lockdown drink is Glenfiddich 18.
Before we just sort of wind down, obviously it all sort of blends together. Days just blend together in lockdown. But today is a special day for you. So I thought we had to do a little celebration for you. So happy birthday. And I believe that you've got some drinking plans which you're about to start on.
Thank you so much. Yes, we've got a party coming up quite soon, so thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute delight to have you on, especially on this, your birthday. So cheers, enjoy the rest of the day. Slàinte mhath.
Slàinte mhath.
Although our world finds itself very much under a cloud at the moment, we're trying to bring you that little gold lining. So I'll see you next week for another dram.